Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the brand new film that is exclusively on Disney Plus, and is a movie version of the animated show of the same name that was around in the late 80s and the early 90s. And they decided to make a movie version of it, which when they announced it, and I assume I'm trying to remember when they announced it at the Disney Investors Day that happened in 2020, late 2020. And I was like, okay, clearly I'm not the target demographic for this. This is something for like younger kids. It's probably just gonna be all, hip and hop, and it's probably not. There's nothing going to be really appealing for me. But then I saw the trailer and I went, okay, what are you doing here? Said Disney with this Chip and Dale movie. Like, you're doing a bit of Roger Rabbit, which is the case, but it's also a murder mystery. You're doing a sense of meta. It feels like it's what Space Jam 2 wants it to be. Where Space Jam 2 wanted to be like, look, we want to be more than just the Looney Tunes. So we'll be like, here's DC, here's Harry Potter, here's Game of Thrones, here's Wizard of Oz, here's the Iron Giant, here's all of our IPs. But it kind of felt like a HBO Max commercial, right? This movie doesn't, because what it is really hammered home. It's focused on Chip and Dale and their relationship. Now, I will say this. It's a decent film. It's a really decent film, and I think this is a movie that families will watch and where parents won't be like, oh, for the love of God, can this movie just fucking end? No, there's none of that. I think this is a movie kind of like the first Sonic, which is funny enough because Sonic the fucking Hedgehog is in the movie. And not the Sonic the Hedgehog that we see in the theaters, the original design of Sonic the Hedgehog. The one that that Paramount released in a trailer, and the internet was like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Paramount, please change that look. And they changed it and postponed the movie, and got the design that we got. We got ugly Sonic, as they call him. But it's like the first Sonic. In the first Sonic, I was watching it, I'm like, this is not garbage. This is fine. This is like an okay family film that a parent or an adult wouldn't go completely mental and understand why are they watching this for like 90, 100 minutes. And that's what I feel with this Chip and Dale movie. There's humor. I mean, Peter, it's so wonderful to see you. Oh, you're old. Yeah, that's around the corner for you too, kid. Like, you got that type of humor that makes you go, okay, I got a chuckle there, I got a chuckle here, I got a chuckle there. And of course you got all these little Easter eggs with the meta side things. I mean, when we hit the 80s, when they dive into the story of Chip and Dale, in the context of like the show, because it's Roger Rabbit, it's a world where animated characters exist and they walk around like all of us. So they pretend like the Chip and Dale show was actually filmed like any other live action show. So you have their story of it, and you have Roger Rabbit showing up. You have the cat from like that Polar Duel video showing up, which you can't help but be like, well, that's a deep cut. I mean, I'm 25, turning 26 this year, and I know it just because I'm a pop culture junkie who knows like, I get that reference, get that reference, get that reference. Yeah. It's just like all the meta side of things just really work well and doesn't feel distracted. It's able how to do meta really well without. It's like cameos. Is how to make fan service not feel like fan service, and they find a way to do that, and it's really well put together. Even if it's just there for a piece of humor, a joke or whatever, or just or something narrative to the story. I mean, the other thing that really stood out for me is how the story itself, like the family aspect of it, it does kind of go through the notions of the typical buddy family kids movie kind of format with okay, here's two people who don't get along, they get along, and then they split up, and then they get back together, and then the big climax of like maybe a big action sequence at the end, and then they, you know, sing Kumbaya. But in this movie, what helps for the adults is that in a way it's their, like, using adult things, but in like a family friendly format, like using cheese as drugs. Like you have mice, and the mice are acting cheese like it's cocaine. Like you have scenes like, I'm here for some cheese, sir, and like feeding the cheese and snorting the cheese, or just following the smell of the cheese, like they're high on it, or drug on it. It's insane on its mindful of how, in a way, how they worked out how to make it still aim for a family audience, but still have adult level stuff, knowing the metaphor of what it's meant to be. But also the thing of the story itself, like it's not a murder mystery, but it acts like a murder mystery. And in a way, what the story is and what the main crime is, it kind of makes you have a level of horror towards it. And that is that there's a number of kidnappings of classic animated characters. And these animated characters are getting turned into bootlegs. As in, hey, little Janie likes Frozen. Can you give her Frozen? And Grandma goes to the store and thinks that she bought Frozen, but in reality she got some bootleg version of Frozen and some cheap ass animation that says it thought it was Frozen, but actually it wasn't Frozen. You know what I mean? Like the Titanic animated movies where you have a whopping dog. That's what I'm talking about. Seriously, look it up. Titanic, The Legend Goes On. There's a Titanic animated movie where there's a whopping dog. And with typical Mexican mice, and like even Speedy Gonzales will be like, that's offensive. Like it's that level side of things. Like Flubber. Was it Flabber? Flubber from Little Mermaid? You know, the yellow, like Little Mermaid, like the best friend fish that Ariel has. He gets turned into a bootleg version of the Little Mermaid. And I'm like, that's kind of horrible, getting transformed and forced into a bootleg version of that. It's just the crime aspect of it, and there's a sense of it works, and you kind of you have that sense of investment of it, trying to figure out what's going on and how it's stopped and how it needs, you know, how they're going to stop it and all that kind of stuff, and solving how things connect to the other and that type of thing. So you got that. I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes the two, like clearly with the 2D animation, definitely on a chip, they do the whole, it's 2D on a 3D image. And sometimes you can see it. So I'm not quite a fan of that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to go hard on this movie. That's the thing. I'm not going to go hard on this movie because it's a family film. And I think for a good old click on the button, watch, 38 minutes of, it's not a bad movie. To just sit down, watch it with a couple of kids, and just watch it with them. And it, you know, it's just fine. It's a fine film. A fine family film.